Tuesday.
All right. So welcome everyone. I know we still have people coming in, so Lily and I will talk slower to allow everybody to get on this phone call. Welcome to the 8th Chakra Company's Tuesday night phone call. I am Bonnie Sachs, in case you didn't know that. And Lily is here with me. Can you believe it's our last call?
No, I can't believe it. But in some ways I can, because time just is flying like crazy. This year went by like I don't even know what analogy to use.
Right? 7 weeks, whoosh, there it went. So this, we have been doing this series, Healing Humanity, and it has been absolutely amazing. We have talked about unconsciousness and fear, discernment, judgment, anger, betrayal, all the really cool stuff. And so tonight we're very excited on this call to talk about love. Love is the only truth. This is our Tuesday night call. It is our flagship product. It is the thing that we are most passionate about. We get emails all week long of people telling us how much we have changed their life in this simple hour, and we absolutely love that. And we love helping people access more of their own information, healing what is there for them. And so we gift this to everyone. So I was joking before we started, quick, you have 2 more minutes, call and tell your friends to get on this phone call. It is going to be a huge game changer for you. It's our last Tuesday night phone call for the entire year. So definitely send the link to everybody. I just needed to throw that in. Anyway, Lily and I co-founded the 8th Chakra Company with the purpose of helping us all master what it is to be human and to raise our frequencies with everyday conversations to a whole new level of awareness. We understand that we already know how to be spiritual. We got the whole spiritual thing. It's when we get into a body that we're like, yikes, what in the world do we do with this body? And how do we communicate with our soul when we can't hear it, when we don't know what's going on? So both Lily and I are expert Akashic Records readers. We teach people all around the world how to read their Akashic Records. We're also master level alchemists, and we do healing for the entire hour that you are on this phone call. You are absolutely going to love it. If you don't, feel free to send us a message and we'll handle that. But I can't imagine anybody ever getting on this phone call and spending an hour and saying that was a waste of time. So Lily, why don't you go ahead and tell people why we are
in fact, somebody, Molly is saying, hello from chilly part of Florida. I don't want these calls to ever end. I love them. Yes, thank you, Molly. Wow. So as Bonnie said, we are both expert Akashic Records readers and mastery level alchemists. And what that means for you is that you get to have the benefit, because being in a body is a challenge. None of us, when we come here, we don't really want to. I think we all come kind of kicking and screaming, but being in a body is the only way that we can raise our frequency and expand our awareness and our consciousness, and do it not just for ourselves, but on behalf of Source itself. And so it's really, really important for you to know that what Bonnie and I do as alchemists and Akashic Records readers is that we bring you tools so that you can also access your records, and you get the benefit that we are bringing in because of our intimate relationship with the Akashic realm and with the Ascended Masters and the Angelic realm. You get to benefit from all the messages that Bonnie and I have tuned into, because we have been honing our craft and definitely working on perfecting the way that we receive the messages, the way that we tune in. We're constantly working on raising our frequency, and that's what this call is about, is to help you raise your frequency. I always say your frequency is going to be raised just from showing up on this call, and that means whether you're listening to us live or you're listening to the recording. And don't forget to check SoundCloud, because we have some of our recordings on there, and for your benefit. The second thing is that we do open the Akashic Records for this community, meaning you. If you're registered for this call and you're listening to us live or on the recording, as we keep saying, you are benefiting from the Akashic Records of this community. We form a community by virtue of being on this call. And so Bonnie and I do open the records. And in fact, today, as we were opening the records right before the call, we both experienced a lot of love coming through. And Bonnie invoked a lot of pink rose quartz frequencies coming in for us and really enveloping us. And she used the analogy of the fairy Cinderella in this like beautiful magical dust. And that's exactly where we are right now, is enveloped in this beautiful dust of love and rose pink quartz, which is a very, very high frequency, what this call is about. So you are having the benefit of that. And we're already starting to get messages. I'm feeling them now. We're already starting to get the downloads, and you are going to benefit from those, of course. And then the third thing that makes us really different is that we do always set an intention for our call. And really, this is about us remembering that we have access to all the information that we need. It's available to us to clear all the low frequencies. Bonnie mentioned before some of the cool stuff, as she called it, that we've been working on, the low frequencies of unconsciousness and fear and judgment, anger, betrayal, unworthiness. All these low frequencies can be alchemized and raised and transmuted, transformed into the high frequency with the key code, love is the only truth. And that's what we're going to be working on today and sharing with you how you can utilize the key code, love is the only truth, to alchemize all negative and low frequencies in your energetic field so that you can have a happier, more blissful life, more connected with your loved ones, and even more connected with those you don't necessarily love. So here we go. All right, Bonnie, go ahead. Tell everybody how to participate and how this whole thing works.
Right, even with the ones that you don't love. So the very first half of the call, we are having a discussion. You can feel free to pop into the group chat. If you go bring your cursor down to the bottom where it says chat, click on that, it opens the box and you can type in a message. If you're not shy and you want to raise your hand and actually be unmuted, you can have the conversation with us. We are happy to do that as well. And we definitely want you to participate in the conversation. The conversation is very different when other people pop in and add what works for them. I'm sure Lily does this as well. I take information from what people are saying and can incorporate that into the second half of the call, which is where Lily and I each bring in, we access our upper chakra information, and we bring in messages from the angelic realm, from the Akashic realm, and really get some wisdom and perspective. And we do more intense healing. So it shifts everything when you participate. I have people say to me all the time, I remember last week when I raised my hand and I got the answer to this or that, and it really makes a difference. So please participate, raise your hand, type something into the group chat. We love reading it all. And ready to get started?
Absolutely, yes. And I want to reiterate that your questions and your comments really do make a difference, because the Akashic realm is huge. It's really, really huge. And by you typing in your questions and your comments, it helps us narrow down, and it helps all the masters and teachers and our loved ones in the Akashic realm to be more specific about what each of us in this community is looking for to receive in this call. So definitely use that raising of the hand and we'll unmute you. And you can always chat like Bonnie said, so cool. All right. So love is the only truth. Bonnie, oh my gosh. We have been working on bringing in love frequencies for a long time, you and me together. We truly have. I think that even when we started the 8th Chakra Company 3 years ago, that so much of it was about bringing in the frequency of love into our lives, into our relationships, and into our experience as human beings and as light beings in a body. So we've been working on this for a very long time. And I have to say that I have witnessed Bonnie and me truly transforming our lives, becoming more tranquil, becoming more at peace, becoming more chill with the things going on in our life. For both of us, I noticed we're less dramatic. We get less ruffled, and we're constantly reaching for those higher frequencies. And so it's been an amazing journey, Bonnie. Thank you for being on this journey with me. And you know, I'm reading a book about Mary Magdalene right now, and oh my goodness, if we can embody love, it would be Mary Magdalene bringing in, and she is really all about the pink rose frequencies. And it's just a beautiful account of how we can be more of who we are in truth. So I love that key code. Love is the only truth. So, oh my gosh, let's talk about the key code, Bonnie. How is love the only truth? Love is the only truth. How is that a key code?
Well, first of all, will you do your awesome explanation of what a key code is? Because I think it's just a fabulous way to start the whole conversation.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Bonnie always says that I'm the scientist of the two of us, but I really am not very much of a scientist. But I do love to understand things from a scientific standpoint. And key codes work like literally like if you had a key that goes into a lock. But since we're talking about our bodies and our energetic fields, let's talk about the cell membrane. And on the cell membrane, there's actually what are called cell receptors. And at these receptor sites is what science calls them, is where a drug would work or an emotion would work, because emotions have also molecules that would align with those receptors at the cell site. So that's how a key code works. It actually gets downloaded as a molecular structure that encodes onto the cell membrane, and then boom, it just moves in there, and then it just kind of clicks. And so a key code helps us as we're bringing it in, just like any emotion. The emotion of joy locks in with the cell membrane and invigorates us and makes us act in a certain way, puts a smile on our face, brings us a level of vitality to our body that, let's say, a lower frequency with a different kind of, let's say, coding to it would have, such as fear. Fear would not give us vitality. Fear does the opposite. Fear actually kills vitality in our body. And this is all a chemical reaction that's going on in our body. Our bodies are amazing. They are amazing machines, and they do work chemically with these key codes as well as with emotions. And so that's how key codes work. Inside the key code, there's a vibration, because all key codes, like emotions, like drugs, like food, they have a chemistry to them. So they work they work in a chemical reaction with our energetic field. And that's how it works. It's really that simple, at least from my perspective.
I love the way you say you're more scientific. I say you're more scientific, and then you go on to talk about the cell membranes. I don't know that I've ever talked about the cell membranes, but as you were giving me that analogy, I got actually the analogy of a bike lock, or the combinations that you use where you turn the numbers around, and when you get a certain number, it goes click, and then you can pop it open. So thank you. Maybe I can remember that one. But the words "love is the only truth" is a key code, and it is a key code that specifically tells the body to take direction from the high frequencies in our body rather than the low frequencies. So many of us have trained our bodies, or our bodies came in with this like, oh my God, where's the pain? Where's the fear? The next thing is going to happen to us. And so we spend a lot of time looking for the low frequencies and operating from the low frequencies. And if you're somebody who finds yourself getting stressed out, or, worrying about things, being in fear, thinking that something is always about to happen, you can actually recite to yourself, love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. And it is telling the body to go look for the higher frequencies, go look for the joy, the bliss, the radiance, the illumination, the love, and take direction from those instead. So this is a really powerful key code. If you don't remember anything we ever say again, remember that love is the only truth will realign your body, and you'll be able to just kind of skate through this whole process of going up in frequency. Just kidding, you're not going to skate through, but it is going to be really fabulous. So that's the magic of love is the only truth. And Lily, you did a great job talking about the frequencies. Last week we were talking about the difference between frequency and emotion, and it's really important for us to take direction from the high frequencies, right?
Yes, absolutely. Higher frequencies tend to have more intention behind them, because when you actually pronounce certain words, you're putting an intention into them. Emotions tend to come from a reactive. We react to things. And that's one of the ways that you can tell the difference, is that an emotion usually comes as a result of us having an experience. We have an experience and then we react with an emotion. It could be fear, it could be love, but that's an emotion. Whereas a key code that's pronounced through intention, just like we have talked about the pathway prayer, for example, that opens up the Akashic records, is filled with key codes that truly do unlock that dimension. Everything in the universe has a dimensional kind of properties around it that we have access to, but we don't just have access to them automatically. We want to utilize the key codes that have the high frequencies so that we can access these dimensions with intention. And that's what's really important about it. So these high frequencies are very healing, whereas low frequencies are actually causing harm to our bodies and to our energetic field. And that's another way to tell the difference between the high and the low frequencies, is that low frequencies don't feel so good. And low frequencies actually result in dis-ease or lack of ease in the body, whereas high frequencies provide freedom for us. They make us feel comfort. They make us feel joyful. They make us feel in a state of elation, or in a state of wanting more of something, excitement, enthusiasm. So that's how you can tell the high frequencies from the low frequencies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when you hear Lily and I talk about rose pink quartz is the color that love comes in at, and sort of the love spectrum kind of goes across all of the different pinks, but it's that rose pink quartz that is love. And when you see, I love when people talk about clocks and how they see repeating numbers, and, you know, what does it mean? How are we supposed to interpret them? When you see 5:55, doesn't matter if it's in the morning or at night, 5:55, 555, that is love. 5 is love. So anytime you see 5s, you know, you go and buy some candy or something at the store and it's 5:55, yes, the universe loves me. So that's another way that you can look at this thing called love, that there's a lot of ways that as we move through our day, that the universe is busy telling us that we are loved. We just don't always pay attention to it.
Very cool. And you bring up something that's very, I hadn't actually thought about this before, but everything in the universe has a vibration and a frequency, and the universe is comprised of geometrics and colors. That's really what the universe is comprised of. So all frequencies are going to have a color associated with them, as well as a numeric associated with that. So 555 is the numeric associated with love. And you could actually download love by saying 555. And you can ask your higher self, your essence, you can say, dear soul, please download for me now the frequency of love, 555. And then imagine that frequency. Just imagine it coming down for you in a pink rose color, because that is the color of it. And when you use your imagination and you use verbally those numeric codes, and sometimes your soul will give you different numerics or different colors. And in that moment, that's what you want to receive, because that's what you need at that time. It could be like a slightly variant degree of that frequency, because it's not always the same. The way that I experience the pink rose quartz may not be exactly the same way that Bonnie experiences it. So we all experience it in a slightly different way, the way that our soul wants us to experience it. And it's a beautiful thing when you begin to connect with all of that and see those colors and see those numerics coming through for you. And then you can begin to actually call upon them and invoke them. Actually calling on them and invoking them is a great way to do that. And the love frequency actually is very much emanates from our heart center. And so as you are imagining the key code, love is the only truth, you want to get present to your heart and to your heartbeat. And there's a point in our heart in which these key codes really truly do reside and arise and expand to the rest of our energetic field. And so the heart is a great place to focus your attention on when you're bringing forth and calling on the higher frequencies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you know, one of the reasons, the biggest reason why we did this at the very end, I was joking that we did have 6 weeks of all kinds of low frequencies that we were talking about: unconsciousness, fear, you know, judgment, anger, betrayal, guilt, all of those things. One of the reasons why we did love at the very end is because love is like O negative, right? Isn't that what it's called? O negative blood. That is the universal donor. Like if you don't know what kind of blood somebody has, you give them type O blood. Maybe it's just type O blood. You all know what I mean. If you give that, it is going to take care of whatever anybody needs. And love is the exact same way. That frequency, love, rose pink quartz, is what is going to help with shame, with blame, with guilt, with anger. When you don't know what else to do, sit in a couple of moments of calling in more love, of finding something to love in the situation, finding something. We often talk about finding something to be grateful for. Gratitude falls into that same kind of category, but it is absolutely bring more of the love in, and you will start to shift any of those low frequencies that we have been talking about. Jenny is actually asking, what is love? I think I'm going to pass that to you, Lily.
Well, love is a harmonizing frequency. So it is the unifying, it is actually the source of all creation is love. Mm-hmm. And love has a lot of different aspects to it. Bonnie mentioned gratitude. Gratitude is an aspect of love, as is compassion and forgiveness and joy. All of these fall under the spectrum. If you look at the let's say the range of frequencies, you have fear on one end and love on the other, and then there's everything in between. So love is a frequency. Love is also an emotion. We can feel the emotion of love. When we feel the emotion of love, it feels warm and it feels comforting, like the love that you have for your child, the love that you have for your pet, the love that you have for your country, the love that you have for eating an apple. That is more of an emotion. The frequency of love, which is what we're talking about here, is a state of being where you are in complete and total harmony with the universe. It's being in complete and total homeostasis with all of creation. And that's something that we strive to have, but very few of us actually are able to experience love as a frequency in its full glory in physical bodies, because we got so much in the way that's keeping us from experiencing that, not just the physical body, but all those other low frequencies and all the karma that we bring with us from lifetimes and lifetimes, and all those low frequencies like fear. Fear keeps us from experiencing love. And so what is love? It's a frequency. It's a state of being that allows us to be in connection with one, in one connection with all of creation, with source, with all of humanity, with all of the universe. And it is the unifying builder of and creator of the universe. That's how I would describe love. So
Lily, I'm going to put you on the spot.
No!
Every once in a while, because as you were talking, I was being reminded of an event that happened to you probably 1.5 years ago. And that was where you were outside and you had the opportunity, you got to experience love, and you described it as like a very small amount, like the size of your pinky, if not even smaller than that, and how that experience was for you. If you wouldn't mind sharing that for just a minute.
Sure. I was doing a reading, an Akashic Records reading and healing. And one of the teachers for my client appeared, and this person was experiencing a heartbreak. And she was asking, why does it hurt? Why does my heart hurt? And this beautiful light being that showed up to give her the answer said, well, first of all, your heart is not broken. You really can't break a heart. I mean, that's not a physical thing. That's just an expression that we use. But what's happening is that you're out of balance with the harmony in your life. And so then this light being said, I'm going to show you what the frequency of love is like. And in that moment, I felt like a download of this frequency of love to, really what we're talking about here. Again, it's not an emotion, it's a state of being. It's a connection with source, a connection with oneness. And as I was feeling this download coming through, I literally started shaking, and my whole body was reverberating and shaking. And then it just lasted for about maybe 10, 20 seconds, and then it disappeared. And what I got really was that our bodies, we have not trained our bodies yet. We have not elevated the frequency of our own energetic field to be able to receive the full-blown impact of unconditional love and love as a frequency. And that's because of all the low frequencies that we are constantly entertaining. We entertain ourselves with fear. We entertain ourselves with anxiety. We entertain ourselves with depression and with all kinds of obsessions that we just allow these low frequencies to enter into our bodies, and that lowers our frequency, so it doesn't allow us to experience that love. But in that moment, I really felt like, wow, it's like such an energizing and such a high vibration that I almost couldn't handle it for more than 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It was truly an amazing experience to have that, to just have that few seconds of knowing what that kind of love is like. So
yeah. And Jill, you're absolutely right. Lily was just talking about it. Because our bodies have so many low frequencies in them. Keep in mind that all of us have been portals picking up the low frequencies to move them off the planet. And it's really hard for us to consider that we don't really feel love to the full extent, but we are constantly working on it. And that's the reason why we talk about that. Love is the only truth, to realign our body to those higher frequencies, to take direction from that. Our kind of training in the world is, oh my gosh, we need to pay attention to those things that are low frequencies, those things that make us angry. We need to manage it. Those feelings and of depression and sadness and anxiety and all of those things. And so we're just in the process of shifting our frequencies and starting to take direction from a little bit higher. I know sometimes I have to remind myself that I can go just a little bit higher, just a little bit higher. And I actually have been practicing over the last few months of being more of the expression of love. And often the way that shows up for me is being in a place of discernment rather than judgment. It's really easy for me to say, oh Lord, do you see what that girl is wearing? That kind of thing. And then like, oh yeah, that's right. She's divinity in form. I want to be in a state of love and recognize the love that she is. And, she is here having an experience. And even if her clothes don't match, we're going to love her and be with her. So I'm actually being told, I was told just a little bit ago, Molly, we're going to get to you in just a second. And for everybody to hold out their hands, you can hold out one hand, you can hold out two hands, and you're actually going to get a download of love. And it is up to you where you want to put it. If you feel like you want to speak more love, if your hands are called to do that, put them on your throat. Wherever your hands go is perfect, and everybody has gotten a healing. So if you don't know where your hands are going to go, your hands will absolutely go where they need to. So as soon as you feel like you have gotten your fill of love, you can absolutely put it where it needs to go. And it's really cool. This is a preparation for what they're telling me I'm going to get in just a few minutes. So we want to know that we have control over our sense of love, and we can put our hands out and ask for love whenever we want. It's really easy for it to come to us. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Molly. Go ahead. You want to say something?
Okay. If you can hear me now, first of all, that was excellent. You guys just blow my mind, really. But when you're talking about love and the download, Lily, that you received, it just reminded me that one time about 2 years ago, I was walking into a yoga class that I'd never been into, and it was really in a store, like this local co-op, and there are all kinds of people from all different backgrounds where I needed discernment, not judgment. It was really kind of wild in there. And all of a sudden, I had this download where every single person in there, young and old, and even the instructor's little girl was in there. I felt love like I've never, ever felt before. It was magical and crazy. I didn't know where it come from. I hadn't asked for it, and it wasn't drug induced. I've never used drugs like ecstasy or anything. You know, you hear people talk about that, and I didn't have to tell anybody there that was happening. But it was it was a euphoria, and it was, I don't know. And is that something somebody else has had? Have y'all had that happen? And can you explain to me what was going on?
It's a great question. It absolutely, to me, it very much looks like you just got a great experience of love and how love truly feels, where there is no judgment around it, that there is no trigger, that you just see everyone for who they are in truth, rather than looking at what you actually see, what we see here on the planet. Lily, do you have a perspective on that?
Well, a lot of times when we're in environments such as a yoga studio, and where the intention that our soul has brought us there for is unification and oneness and peace and tranquility, through that soul intention, we now find ourselves in an environment that's actually conducive to experiencing those frequencies, because our bodies then align with that environment through the intention that our soul has given to us and led us therewith. And so it makes it a prime situation. It's like the environment is right for it. It's like a tomato plant is going to grow in ripe soil. If you just put a tomato seed in the cement, it's not going to grow. It's not going to sprout out. But if you put it in some fertile soil and you put love in it and water, it's going to grow and blossom. And I think that that's something that we all need to be aware of and cognizant. And that's why the practice, for example, of the Akashic records and practicing alchemy and practicing theta healing, as Bonnie and I do on these calls, it makes this environment a beautiful environment for us to receive the downloads that we do receive on every one of these calls, because through our intention, our soul has brought us here and made this the right soil for us to experience what we've come here to experience. So that's what was going on for you on that day, Molly.
I wish it would happen every day. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. And you're right, it was truth. That's what it was, truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Beautiful.
Very cool.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And I love what Jenny is saying. I think that's Jenny. My chat's not moving up. Yeah, I love what Jenny was saying, that a few days ago she was reading Love is the Only Truth and was experiencing anger and frustration, and she wanted to argue about it with Bonnie, and then she just decided to come down and start repeating Love is the Only Truth, and then you were able to experience the relaxation of those lower frequencies, the releasing of those lower frequencies. So that's beautiful. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, for
wow.
sure. And I relate to that piece about wanting to hold on to it. Like, I had a true sense of who I was as a soul, and I had it for about 3 or 4 minutes. I was really clear, and I can certainly describe it to somebody, but the feeling was just, it lasted 3 or 4 minutes, and then it was like, okay, now I'm back here. And it's beautiful to have experienced it, but it's a difficult place for us to stay in because of the low frequencies. The low frequencies are like, wait, come back here, get back down here, and pulling us down. So yeah, that does indeed happen. So Lily, do you have anything you want to add before I give some insights here?
Well, I really love this place that we're at, because I'm definitely experiencing a tremendous amount of love in this community and what we're doing here. And it feels really sweet. And I'm definitely very present to the beating of my heart. And I can almost feel palpably the beating of everyone's heart, and it feels really, really nice. So I'm seeing like there's something coming through for all of us, like an almost like a blanket extending through for all of us to bring us together and to give us and provide for us a beautiful, fertile soil in which to receive the downloads that we're about to receive. So I'm excited to hear what your messages are, Bonnie, coming through for us all.
This is really fun for me tonight. I actually just had the reminder, it was like reminder. Our souls are in charge of everything. Every single person's soul is in charge of everything they do. And it's really important for us to remember that our souls are in charge, and that our souls were originally created from rose pink quartz. Our souls were originally created from that rose pink quartz that we were just talking about, you know, love. That is what our souls are created from. And so we first want to remember that that's where we come from. We come from love. And then we get bogged down in these low frequencies. We get bogged down in lifetime after lifetime of low frequencies and not being able to move enough of the low frequencies out of our bodies from one life, and then we go into another lifetime where we're still carrying those things. Lily and I often talk about karma and agreements. We have talked about that in previous calls, and that's more of those low frequencies. So before I got on the call tonight, I walked into my bathroom and I saw a candle. Now I have a candle that is a Yankee candle. I have probably had that candle for about 5 years, and I've probably burned about a 1/4 inch, if even that much of it. And I looked at the candle and suddenly I had this analogy that just popped into my head. You know, I know the candle smells pretty. It's got a cinnamon apple smell to it because I have burned it once before. It absolutely looks pretty once you get past the layers of dust that congregate on it. But I don't use them very often. And that is the case for me with most of my candles in my house. I'm not a big candle user, but I saw the candle and I got this analogy that is often how love shows up, if you can believe this, how love shows up for us in our lives, that there is this sense of, you know, I have the love, it's sitting there, it's available. I don't want to use it up too much, because that's what originally started me on not lighting the candle. I mean, if I light the candle and I let it burn for 10 hours or 15 hours, it's going to be gone. And then what am I going to do? I'm not going to have it anymore. I'm not going to be able to enjoy it. And they're giving me this candle analogy of how I see candles as how we often look at love, that's like this this entity, this thing that we have, that it's like we're going to use it up if we kind of put it out there, if we light it, if we make it active, if we allow it to do what it is supposed to do, that somehow we're going to use it up, that it's not going to be available to us, that what happens when we really need it, is it going to be there? And I love that analogy. For me, it might not be something that all of us relate to, but for me, there is this sense of like, if I'm constantly putting it out there, you know, is it going to, am I going to use it up? Am I going to use those cards kind of like, am I going to use my chips too soon? And then I might need to use them later on, and they are not going to be available. And they want us to understand that this idea of love is the frequency that heals all the things that are going on in our lives, that this is the frequency that we want to like take it off the shelf and use it every day. Don't let it get dusty. Don't let it get, you know, worn out or lose its smell, or whatever kind of analogy you want to use for it. It's something that we want to use on a regular basis. We want to truly understand that there is no lack. There is no using it all up, burning it all away, not having enough of it, that the more we use it, the more we have of it, the more opportunity we use it for our loved ones, that we give this sense of love away, the more there is for us. And I'm seeing all these different analogies for the holidays. There's so many opportunities for us. I'm like walking through the mall in my head, and it's like, you know, the people who are pushing and shoving, and the people who don't have patience and are looking at their watch, and the people who are just really angry because they can't get what they need, or they can't get the words out to express what they need. That it is an opportunity for us to say, we can take the candle off the shelf and just give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away. You know, say something nice to somebody, be in love with somebody, and not be in the low frequency of fear that if we tell somebody we love them, that they're not going to reciprocate it, because it is not a requirement of love to send it out and to get it back. It is absolutely something that we just keep giving, 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 giving. And it's a really weird analogy, people. I'm getting this really odd analogy because it's like this container filled with love. And there's actually kind of like a hole in the bottom of it. And you think that as it bubbles up and gets used, that there isn't going to be any more, but it just keeps refilling and overflowing. The more we use it, the more we give it to other people, use it on our families, use it out in the world. They use the analogy of the mall at the moment for the world, being out there and giving it away as much as we can. The more we understand, we are like the front line here in what is happening on the planet. The more that we understand that we could just keep giving it away, giving it away, giving it away, the more we can start to change the world, start to make a difference. Love is that freaking powerful. It is that amazing. You can change how people see their lives simply by loving them more, being more expressive, being more willing to give whatever they need. Does it really matter if we don't get that perfect gift? You know, I've got the cookie, I've got the cookie. Oh God, 10 people want it. I'm going to just give it away because I want to make sure that everybody else has an amazing experience. And the more we do that, the more we give it away, the more we actually receive it back. It comes back to us over and over again. Jenny posted a message right before I started talking about, can a person be confused about love? And the answer that I'm getting on that is, we really can't be confused about love. We can be confused about the emotions that are going on in our body. We can be not in the awareness of our own information, not having access to that, but we really can't be confused about love. Love is very clear. Just keep giving it and giving it and giving it. And while I've been talking, we've all been getting big healings around the sense of not being able to give it away, not being able to share it. You know, this sense of like what I'm going to look like if I share too much. So I love that we have just been getting a ton of gifts tonight. I am so excited for all of us. And I'm going to turn it over to Lily.
Oh, thanks, Bonnie. I'm feeling this incredible state of tranquility and calm that I haven't felt on any of these calls. I mean, I truly am. It feels like like I was saying earlier, like a blanket. And I'm honing in on your analogy of the candle. And I really love that analogy because actually it is confusing for some people to think about love as something that we could run out of. Something that if we give it away too much, that we won't have enough of it for tomorrow or the next day, almost like we want to hoard it to ourselves. That is confusing. As I was listening to what you were saying, I and you said something about the holidays, I started getting all this information about, we have a huge holiday coming up. We just had Hanukkah that just ended, and we're going into Christmas. The Jewish people and the Christians, such opposing ways of thinking, religions, let's say religions. And I'm thinking to myself, really, are we going to go there? And it's just really there for me to talk about this place of, we don't know love as truth. This key code is so powerful. Like Bonnie was saying, how powerful this is. It is so powerful. But when we don't use it as a key code, it's difficult to really be able to understand the power of this key code, because there's been so much controversy throughout the ages of what love is and how to express love. Some people think of love in terms of sexuality. Some people think of love in terms of slavery, or in terms of so many different things that we could go down the road with, that we're not going to do that. But love as truth, love is the only truth. What is truth? Truth is that which doesn't argue with reality. It's a fact. It's permanent. So if we look at it from that perspective, and love is the only truth, what is really coming down for me, and what they're wanting us to connect with, is that if love is the only truth, that means that everything else is not true, which means it's an illusion. And really, that's a lot of what the teachings of some of these ascended masters that are here to help us, Yeshua being one of them, Mary Magdalene being one of them, these beings who have come here to show us the way of love, of oneness with Source. There has been so much misinterpretation through scripture and through the Bible and the Old Testament and the New Testament. So of course we would be a little bit confused about what that is. And the Bible talks about a loving God, but then the Bible also talks about the God that we have to fear. And so what is it? Is it a loving God, or is it a God that we have to fear? That seems a little contradictory to me, that it's a loving God who created us and made us who we are, but yet we have to fear that God, because if we sin, we'll go to hell. All these things really are the illusion that has bound us to this human form, and that has not permitted us to step into the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is that we are love. Like Bonnie was saying, we originated through this pink rose quartz frequency. That is what we're made of. We said it earlier in the call, that what is love? Love is the frequency that creates. There can be no creation without love. Love is that frequency which creates. We could say God is love. We could say, if we don't want to think about God in a personified way, as religions all do, we could think of God as that which creates, the universal force frequency that creates. And what they want us to understand is that one of the ways that we can access this frequency is to actually give up the notion that we know what it is. Because many of us do believe that we know what love is, and we are all working towards and striving towards it. But love is the only truth, and the actual frequency of love is something that very few of us can experience. As we were talking earlier in the call, for those of us that have experienced it, it's been for moments, it's been for split seconds, and we can feel that elation, we feel that connection, but it doesn't last very long. How can we make it last? How can we have it be more of the permanent state of who we are as truth? Bringing in the frequency of love is the only truth. So what they're wanting us to do, and one of the things I love about a lot of the messages that I receive, is that they do give us instructions, and we are about to get an instruction, okay? So you might want to take some notes, or definitely listen to the recording again, because and I don't know what the instruction is yet. It hasn't come in yet, but it is about to be given to us. Part of the magic of anything, really, is in the not knowing of it. When we bring the knowing of something, we're using our logic and we're using our intellect. When Bonnie gave us the instruction to put our hands out so we can receive a download of love, And she said, you'll bring it in through your hands and then follow your soul and let your hands do the walking, so to speak, and put your hands where you want to experience that love. So if you want to express yourself more verbally in your communication or other communication, then you might want to put that hand right on your throat, because that's the center for your communication. I noticed that what I did was that I put my hands up on my forehead. And what was there for me is that I not only want to experience love, I want to know love. I want to know love. Like, I want to know love from a cognizant standpoint. So cognizance is a clear channel that we have, that we understand through knowing. That means, so, wow. So this is the instruction, because really what they're wanting us to understand is that we don't have to understand love through the way that we typically understand things, which is through logic and which is through making sense of things. We're not going to make sense of something that is so magical and so huge and so high frequency. It's just, we're not going to make sense of it. Why is that? Because our brains as human beings have not developed enough to actually experience love as something that we can experience intellectually. Now, the emotion of love, we can experience it intellectually. And when we fall in love or we love our child, we understand that it makes sense to us. Of course, I would love my child. I gave birth to this child. I, carried this child for 9 months. So intellectually, it's going to make sense to me. But when I experience love for a complete and total stranger, that doesn't make sense. There's no logic of why I would experience or understand why I feel love for a complete, perfect stranger that I've never met. Or if I experience, like what Molly shared about being in that yoga room and all of a sudden everybody is glowing and everybody feels like one with her and she is experiencing this love. Now, that you can't explain that through logic. So what they're wanting us to do, the first step here that they're giving us is to try to stop trying to understand love. That's the first thing. Wow. That's really huge, because how many of us spend a lot of money trying to understand love? Let's not even go into the romantic piece, because that's why dating sites have become so popular, because we're all trying to not only understand how we can love, but we're trying to find someone that will love us as much as we know we can love them. And that's all intellectual and that's all human. So the first thing they want us to do is let's stop trying to understand love from an intellectual standpoint. But this knowing, this cognizance, that's different. The cognizance of love is to actually know it in our being, know it from our soul, knowing love is the only truth, knowing it from a standpoint of, wow, yes, I might feel it in my heart. I might feel it in my shoulders. I might feel it in my eyes. I might feel it any part of my body. But when I know love, I simply know it. So if I'm experiencing love for a complete and total stranger, it's enough. It's enough to know that I'm experiencing that love. I don't have to understand it intellectually. So I hope that I'm not fully understanding the way the message is coming through, because honestly, I'm feeling like there's no words to really describe the message that I'm getting. But the first instruction is to stop trying to understand love. Move towards the direction of knowing love and experiencing love as a frequency. The second thing that they want us to understand that is going to really help us all, and this is going to sound very simplified. And for those of you that think that life has to be complicated and that all good things have to come in complex packages, or that you, in order to benefit from something, and you have to work hard, that old saying, we've talked about it in past calls, of no pain, no gain. For those of you that go work out in the gym to try to get those muscles, and you know that you have to get certain amount of reps every day and you have to do certain amount of exercises to get those muscles built, and no pain, no gain, you're going to have a harder time with this next instruction. Because really what they're wanting us to understand is that it's very, very simple to actually allow ourselves to trust. That's it. Trust. trust is about knowing that our soul has it figured out. And Bonnie mentioned that earlier in the call. Our soul has this figured out. Our ego doesn't have it figured out. Our ego is constantly trying to figure it all out. It's our ego that's trying to understand how we can find more love and what do we need to do? Do I need to lose 20 pounds before someone will love me? Yes, our ego really wants to understand why we're not lovable. Why have I not found the partner in my life? Why does my child not appreciate me? Why does my mom not tell me that she loves me and hugs me the way that I want to be hugged? That's our ego personality, the human aspect that's trying to understand love. So if we trust our soul, and this is the second thing that they want us to do. So the first is let's give up trying to understand it. And the second thing, let's trust. Let's trust that our soul has it figured out. Now, trusting that our soul has it figured out is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It really isn't. So trust is another key code that you could actually bring into your energetic field. You can literally say, dear God, or dear higher self, dear essence, whoever that you think is running the show, because for some of us, it's better to think that there is a God that's running the show, or there is an angel that's running the show, or our higher self, or our essence, our soul is running the show. Whoever you think is running, you think someone is running the show. Whoever that person or entity is that you think is running the show, ask them to send trust to you. And they will. Whether it's your essence, or whether it's source, or whether it's an angel, ask that entity, that being, to send you more trust. Because as you develop and build up that trust, you'll then be able to know that love is the only truth. And those two things are what they really want us to hone in on and to receive, as now we are receiving. Wow, there's huge downloads coming through right now of tremendous amount of love, pink rose quartz everywhere, and I'm seeing a lot of rainbow frequencies as well coming in for all of us. So I know that I'm running out of time and they have more things to say, so I'm going to probably have to do a little write-up as a follow-up because there's another 2 steps that they want us to know. But we're running out of time, so I'm going to hand it over back to you, Bonnie, as we're receiving these downloads, which I'm starting to really sweat with them. I'm so glad I turned the AC down.
Awesome. Awesome. And you can put those, all of the steps in the newsletter for Sunday, so everybody can read them there. That'll be awesome. Yeah, so I really wanted to thank Molly and Jenny and Jill and all of you who showed up on the call tonight. You all make a difference in everybody's life, and we really appreciate that you were here participating in the discussion, telling your friends, all of those things. We absolutely appreciate. Our next series is going to start in February, but wait, don't get too upset that I said that. We are going to have 2 special episodes that are happening in January. On January 15th, we are going to be talking a special episode called The Generational Struggle, how we can help our young adults. It is going to be an amazing call, and you're definitely going to be getting more information on that. And then on January 22nd, which is the next Tuesday, we are going to be doing a call on divine channels and talking about our divine channels of communication. So those are sneak peeks into programs that we are going to be starting in the beginning of next year. The Generational Struggle, Healing Our Young Adults is going to be a workshop program that we're doing 2 weekends in a row, and we are just finishing up the final touches, so you all will have that information. And then Accessing Your Divine Channels is actually going to be a 12-week course where we are going to be doing mega healing for everybody and giving everybody more access to their divine channels of communication. Both of those programs we have coming up probably in the next week or so. I also want to tell you, I'm so excited. We got the information to the Essential Chakra Guide and Activation Series. The price has dropped to $299. We are practical. I mean, this is like giving this thing away, because, you know, when we calculated how much it cost to produce it, it was well over $3,000. But we really want to get it into people's hands so they have the information. So that is on our website. Hey, if you haven't seen our website, we have the coolest website in town. You have to go and look at Lily's video that is at the very beginning. It is absolutely magical, beautiful. You will love it. Thank you so much for being here. We really love, truly love, and appreciate you all. Lily?
Yes, thank you. We love you. Have fun. Be merry and enjoy your families, your friends. Be safe. Have lots of food. Have lots of drink. Enjoy and play, and allow love to come into your heart, and trust that your soul has it all figured out. Good night, everybody.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, right? Happy New Year. Love you.